Hi, it's Rich at Marvelous Ministries. Well, I'm speaking, I guess this week somehow I've stumbled into, is your marriage going in circles? Well, men, husbands, women, wives, do you have this issue in your marriage? Have you ever thought or said this kind of a phrase? This is a wife to her husband. Well, honey, I've spoken with my girlfriends, and you should be thankful that we are physically intimate X number of times per month. Because when I've talked to my girlfriends, their husbands be lucky for that in a year. Okay. It's interesting. You have a marriage relationship that's supposed to be the most intimate, closest, and strongest relationship you have outside of you and God. And you go to your girlfriends, and between talking with your girlfriends and what you gossip about or talk about, you determine that your husband, who is a unique individual that God created with certain desires and interests, skills, talents, and abilities, should be thankful, happy with what you say he should be thankful or happy with. Do you realize what you're doing there? You're determining for your spouse what their needs, their wants, and their interests may be. Now, believe me, men are not innocent in this area either. But we need to break down some of the stereotypical thoughts and beliefs that we have accepted as normal from the world. Because there's a constant battle going on in our mind, that self-talk and other things whispering into our mind about how we feel about ourselves, how we look and feel about our relationship. And we feel like our mind is this supercomputer constantly going, calculating all these different things. Boy, my husband really hasn't paid much attention to me lately. He doesn't seem to be attracted to me or interested in me or with me, and all he wants to do is work and work and work and work and work, and so I'm just not that important to him anymore. And then suddenly out of nowhere he just wants to have sex with me. That's all he wants. Okay. So you tell yourself all these things. Okay. And the men have the same thing. I mean, they're thinking that about their wives. Well, this and this and this and this and this and this, and the calculations are spinning in their head, and they're listening to all these things. And maybe they're hearing people talking around work or their friends or whatever. I mean, it happens on both sides of the equation. And each and every one of us is an individual. And if you were to talk to your spouse, and spouses were transparent in some sort of a blind, hidden truth or dare kind of contest, you would probably find out that there are times in your life where your wife wanted to be more intimate with you than you wanted to be with them, and it goes both ways. Now, there's a lot of things that go on in life. I mean, for me, there was a time where I was taking antidepressants and several different medications trying to get better sleep and so forth. And I know there's times that, I let my wife down. And, looking back, it's like, I wish I wasn't on all those things. But I had a lot of scars and wounds emotionally from my childhood that didn't disappear until the fall of 2020. Now I just have the aftermath of that, kind of like Paul coming back into all those towns that he used to go through as Saul when he was killing people. You kind of have to deal with the aftermath of how you lived your life. And when you don't get the help you need, because mankind can't do it, and God's waiting for you, I'm right here. Just exercise your free will. Give it all to me. Submit and surrender to me, and I will free you. So that's just some of the challenges that you have in a marital relationship. I mean, men are very visually motivated. Men don't handle rejection well. Maybe some do, some don't. Where I was at for the longest time, I was already scarred and wounded heavily from childhood rejection. In my teenage years, more rejection. So for me to have rejection from my wife without good communication of, well, honey, I'm really not that interested in suddenly out of the blue being physically intimate with you tonight, because you really haven't shown me the kind of the attention or appreciation that I feel I deserve, or that I'm wishing and hoping for and I need. But if you don't say those things, then all your husband gets is, great, I'm rejected by my wife. Okay? So how do you respond with that? How do you react? I mean, if you're not in a healthy place, you don't question her and say, hey, let's make some time and talk about these things and try to understand why we're having such issues. I mean, how many men then go to porn, or how many men go to other relationships? And, it brings to the surface things that are in your heart that never should have been there in the first place, but maybe they were. So then if a man has a porn problem, his wife's thinking that, oh, well, he doesn't find me attractive. He's more interested in these women that are on the internet or TV or wherever because of this, and this. They make up in their own minds. I mean, I had that in my teenage years dating. Oh, yeah, so-and-so cheated on me because of this and broke up with me because of that. And you have that in marriage still, because we're still broken, imperfect people. And marriage is supposed to bring these things to the surface, and you're supposed to help each other. And when you can't overcome it yourselves, guess what? You're not alone. It's not a man and a wife together in marriage. It's a covenant with God. Hello, God. Here we are. Why are we struggling in this? And if we would stop and listen to him, or stop repeating what we already think and know is the truth in our mind, and listen to our helper and work through things together with love and prayer and grace and mercy and forgiveness, you don't overcome these things. Maybe your husband turned to porn, or maybe your wife turned to porn because they felt rejected. Guess what? Those that they look at on a porn site don't reject them. It's not what your spouse wants. They regret it. They feel horrified about it. Maybe they're still in bondage. Maybe they were ensnared by porn at a very young age, and it hasn't been dealt with. If we would do what God tells us to do in Ephesians 5, in faith, obediently saying, God, you're my Lord, you're shepherd, you're leading me from the front, not a sheep herder driving me from behind, not trying to change me. Your spouse should not be trying to change you directly. Now, if it's a voluntary, your spouse comes to you and says, hey, honey, I'm really struggling in this area, and I know from my background and my family history that I am not good at this, and you're good at it. Would you help me? Not force me from behind and demand that I change and just do what you say, but help me work through this, the three of us, you, me, and God. Those kinds of things. Because you need to understand the minds of your spouse all the way around in that circle again. Marriage is a circle. That's why we have wedding rings that encircle our finger. And that's what we're supposed to do. Two hearts joined as one, encircled together, creating another layer of foundation built upon the rock. Amen.